And here we go. What is up? Welcome to Adulting with Donnie. Let me just get this live stream going, as is the case every week, it seems like. Um, there's got to be a better way, right? There's got to be a better way. As far as, getting everything started all at once, right? I suppose I could, and once upon a time I used to do it a little better. Start the recording, the actual recording, the thing that goes up in the podcasting apps stuff, and then start the live show, and then go back when I was done and edit out whatever was in the beginning before the video version started. I used to be a little better about that, but then eventually I just stopped caring. But anyways, welcome back. It's been a little too long. It's been like 3 weeks since I last did an episode. Maybe, well, it's only the 2nd of February, so yeah, it's been about 3 weeks. I think I did one on Saturday, like the 12th or 13th of January. So, I had a few things on my mind tonight, and figured I'd try and knock this out. Stay tuned all the way to the end, because I have something a little heartfelt to share at the end of the night, at the end of the show tonight. But there will be just the normal ranting stuff to start off with. First of all, the last episode that I did, if the audio sounded a little weird, it's because I was recording from the kitchen of the house in Rangeley, because I was up in Rangeley that weekend. I went snowmobiling. It was great. I didn't break anything, which was nice. It's been a year now since I broke my ankle. One of the biggest takeaways for the entire weekend, I went up on Friday afternoon. My lovely girlfriend went away to Connecticut with her friend for a softball conference for the night. She only went away for the night. So she left on Friday afternoon, I think, sometime around noon on Friday. And I think I left to head to Rangeley around like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And so I went up there Friday night. I ended up getting there at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, I think. And got all my stuff unloaded from the truck. No, it had to have been earlier than 8:30. It must have been like 7 o'clock. I must have got up there about 7. Who cares? Is it really that important? No, it's not. I got up there. That's the point. It was as I recall, it was a dicey ride too. I towed my snowmobile on a trailer rather than putting it in the back of the truck like I have been doing the last couple seasons. I towed it on a trailer, and about 45 minutes, maybe an hour outside of Rangeley, the roads really started to ice up, and the roads get a little windy as you get closer to Rangeley. And it got a little dicey there a few times. Usually I do about 60, 70 miles an hour down this last road, down that final stretch. And I could only do like 35, 40 miles an hour because the roads were just so fucking bad. And there was a couple times where, the trailer fishtailing a little bit, which is always exciting when a trailer starts fishtailing behind your truck. So, but made it up there nonetheless. Got up there, unloaded my stuff, and then went out and got something to eat at one of the local restaurants, and then went back to the house and commenced the heavy drinking of the night. I smoked 2 cigars. I drank some bourbon. I had a bunch of beers. I brought a 30-pack with me. I brought a 30-pack of Coors Light with me and a 6-pack of Sam Adams Cold Snap. And by the end of the weekend, I think there was 13 beers left. So over the course of 2 nights, I drank quite a bit. I think I probably drank about half a bottle of bourbon between the 2 nights. And smoked in total. I ended up smoking like 4 cigars. So, but Friday night, I went out to eat, came back to the house, started drinking, smoked a couple cigars, watched some TV shows, and overall just drank too much. And my biggest takeaway from the entire weekend was that I am not 21 anymore. I am not. I'm 40 now. I am not 21. and I can't do it like I used to. Not even 21. It seems like just a handful of years ago, and I think that maybe it's because I used to drink a lot more than I do these days. Way more than, I mean, even tonight. Like tonight, I'm sitting here right now doing the show, drinking my non-alcoholic Coors Edge. I used to drink so much more, so I don't think that I'm really used to it the way that I used to be a few years ago. You know, even if you go back 4 or 5 years, I was drinking so much at the time that I used to be able to go up to Rangeley and drink like that, drink essentially the same way that I did this past weekend, and then get up and go ride all day the next day, no problem. Not the case anymore. I did all that drinking on Friday night. I have no idea. I couldn't. What's 36 minus 13 is what, 23 beers. So I probably had about 10 or 11 beers each night, plus the bourbon, plus the cigars, and I woke up on Saturday morning, and I don't think I went to bed until about 3 in the morning. I woke up at 11. And I just, I felt fucking off. I felt like dog shit. But I'm thinking to myself, like, I drove all the way up here to go snowmobiling. I am going snowmobiling today. So first move of the day was to get coffee, but I didn't even ride. Usually I'd ride the snowmobile to go do a thing like that. You know, ride the snowmobile over to the coffee place, and then take off riding for the day. Not the case this time. I felt like such shit that I got in my truck. I drove to the coffee place. I sat down at the coffee place, had my coffee and a little breakfast sandwich, and then I got back to the house at like noon, and I just kind of stood there for probably an hour, going, I really just think that I want to sleep. But I came all the way here to go snowmobiling. I could sleep at home. I came all the way here to go snowmobiling, so I'm gonna. And so I did. I got my gear on. I went out. I didn't do much riding at all. I was out for maybe 3.5, maybe 4 hours. Not very long. When you compare to previous years where I would go out and be out for 10 or 12 hours, and no problem. Put 200 miles on the snowmobile in one day, no problem. This particular day, I went out for 3 or 4 hours, and I put on, I think, about 80 miles. And I got back to the house at 5 o'clock, and I texted Ro, and I said, I just got back to the house. I'm going to chill out for a minute, get warmed up. I think that, in a little bit, I'm going to go out for dinner. And I think I might, I'll get on the snowmobile again to ride, to go someplace for dinner. And I was like, but I'll make that decision in a few minutes. I'll decide if I'm going to do that in a few minutes. And it wasn't 10 minutes later, I texted her again, and I was like, no, I changed my mind. I'm done riding for the day. I'm going to chill out at home or at the house. I'm going to chill out here. And she had sent me up there with some food and some steaks and stuff. So I cooked up those steaks. I just stayed in the house all night. Again, drank all night long, smoked 2 more cigars, went to bed at like 1 or 2 in the morning. And again, woke up Sunday thinking like, all right, I'm going to get up, it's Sunday, so I want to go home at a reasonable time. So I'm not going to have as much snowmobiling time, but I do want to go ride a little bit. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm going to ride. I know where I'm going to go. Round trip, it's about 50 miles. I'm going to go out and do that, and then I'll come back. I ended up going out and putting like maybe 10 miles on the snowmobile, all told. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done for the weekend. I remember right around midnight on Saturday night, completely wasted, texting Ro and being like, I really want to have some meat. I already had those steaks. Now I really want, but I still want some more meat. And I went digging through the freezer, and I found a 6-pack of the Angus hamburgers that you can get. Angus all beef burgers or something like that, frozen hamburgers. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is perfect. I'll pull these out. I'll fire up the griddle and I'll put these on. So that's exactly what I did. I cooked these fuckers up, and I know that something didn't taste right about them, and yet I ate them anyways. I ate them anyways. I ate like 5 out of the 6. No bun, just the burger with some barbecue sauce on top of them. And the next morning I pulled the box out of the trash. And look, if you know anything about me, I don't have a huge belief on expiration dates. You know, like if the milk expires on the 24th of the month, I think it's probably still good to drink on the 27th. All right. If the cheese expires on the 1st, it's probably still good to the 10th. All right. I'm not huge on expiration dates. All right. I don't think that they have that shit down to a science. It's more of a guideline. I pulled this fucking hamburger box out of the trash. These hamburgers had an expiration date of April 2020. All right. They're going on 3 years expired. Even by my standard, that's a little long. So I felt like shit again. If anything, I felt like shit even more so than I had before. So no big deal. I felt like shit. I ended up, I go riding, but like I'm burping. And every time that I burp is the fucking nasty hamburger taste in my mouth. And I'm wearing a helmet. I mean, it was just fucking awful. Honestly, by the time it was all said and done, I was like, I just want to go home. I think I ended up leaving around 4, got home around like 8 or 8:30 that night. So the lesson that I took away from it was basically, if I want to go up there and get wasted for the weekend, I can do that. Absolutely. I can go up there and do that. But I have to have no expectation of doing virtually anything, whether it's four-wheeling or snowmobiling or going out on the boat, anything like that. I have to have no expectation of doing anything fun the next day. The next day is going to have to be a bedtime day. If I want to go up there and go snowmobiling all day long, go four-wheeling, whatever, I can do that. But it means that the night before, I can't be getting up fucking wasted. I can't be staying up until 2 or 3 in the morning getting wasted. So that was the lesson that I took away from all of that. But either way, it's a great weekend. I grabbed some video, not enough video. You'd think that, I got this great fucking phone with, a really great camera system on it, video recording system on it. Excuse me. I have 2 GoPros, and I have a DJI drone. You'd think that with all of this great camera equipment that I have, I could take some really great footage, and I'm always just so bad about grabbing footage. I had an idea in my head on Saturday of some footage that I wanted to take, and then I just didn't end up doing it. And then when I initially went out on Sunday, I thought I'm going to, that was going to be my 50-mile round trip, was to go get this footage that I wanted. But about 10 miles into that trip, probably more like 5 miles into that trip, I realized I never filled up the fuel tank on the snowmobile. And I didn't think that I was going to make it to the gas station that was 50 miles away. So that was a contributing factor to why I opted to cut that day short. But mostly it had to do with feeling like shit. So I'll be going up. There'll be multiple trips this season. And out of each of those trips, then I'll get more video, a lot more video. I want to do a lot more video stuff. So anyways, I've been at the gym lately, as always, right? I'm always talking about it, almost every goddamn episode for the last 1.5 years, 2 years. I talk about being at the gym. And so I've been at the gym lately, and I noticed something. I'm sure that this isn't something that's probably going to be like some big wow moment that anyone else has seen. But I'm going to talk about it anyways. So at the gym, you're standing on the treadmill, and there's just a wall of TVs. And these TVs, there's probably like, 18 TVs playing 9 different channels, right? So you have, if you think of like a left side and a right side of these 9 of the, split down the middle, the 9 on one side are playing the same channels as the 9 on the other side. It's just broken up so that everyone can watch, type of thing, right? So, but they have CNN and they have Fox News on two of these TVs, two different TVs. Now, I don't mean like CNN or Fox News like local channel, like WMUR or WLVX or whatever, station code there is for a local channel in Akron, Ohio, or Tampa Bay, Florida, or something like that. Not like the local channel. These are the national Fox News, the national CNN. And I noticed in the last few weeks, or maybe even the last few months, is that CNN is playing a bunch of stuff about the Ukraine, right? The war in the Ukraine. They're usually playing a lot of stuff about that, unless there's some sort of big breaking thing, like when Alec Baldwin gets charged with manslaughter or whatever he got charged with a few weeks ago. Like that's on all the channels, but you can pretty consistently see on CNN is going to be something about the war in Ukraine. And then you have Fox News, and Fox News lately, these last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a little more, has a pretty constant feed of these, classified documents at one of Biden's houses or something like that, right? And they're going on about that. And I say, shame on both of them, Fox News and CNN, because both, like, it's almost like CNN is ignoring the Biden thing, and Fox News is ignoring the Ukraine thing. And I don't really understand why. And I think that, give equal time, because they're both issues are issues to be talked about. Like these are both news issues. And why isn't one talking about the other? In fact, you would think that Fox would want to talk about the Ukraine a lot, like, some sort of fucking, I don't know, failed thing. But I do say, like, shame on both. Like why is it that our medias are kind of guiding what we should be watching, what we should care about the most. And I don't think that the media, really, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, whoever else there is, there's way too many of them. CNET, there's way too many of them. Way too many of them in the first place. But why is it that, it's like they're taking one side? Like Fox News is pretty much a Republican news station, and CNN is pretty much a Democrat news station. Is that really the way that it should be? Like, the freedom of the press is the freedom of the press, but why should the press be aligned with one side or the other? They should just be reporting on facts. If you watch Fox News during like the height of COVID, then you'd see a lot of anti-mask stuff and questions about vaccines and whatever. And then if you watch CNN, you'd see a lot of stuff about like wear your mask and fucking get the vaccine and all this other shit. Like, both stations, both news outlets should just be reporting on the fucking news. But I digress. Like I said, I'm not shedding any sort of light on something that people haven't noticed for the last 20 or 30 years or more. What else do we got here? It's been a year now since I broke my ankle. It's been just over a year. In fact, if this is the second, I broke my ankle on the 30th of January. I think it's about a year ago to the day that I had surgery. It's either a year ago today or a year ago tomorrow that I had the surgery to repair my ankle. And I remember that month or month and a half, maybe 2 months afterwards, I thought, man, I am never going to walk the same. Things are never going to be the same. I remember thinking, like, I'm never going to be able to run again. I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. This whole icing and elevating thing is going to last the rest of my life. This is going to be my life forever. This is, I remember just hating it so much. And I certainly have no desire to ever go through anything like that ever again. But it's been a year now. And on the 30th was Monday? Tuesday. Yeah, must have been Monday. Yeah, Monday, I think. Monday or Tuesday. I went out on the road and I ran 9 miles. Mostly as just a, like, look at me go. And that's the furthest that I've ran. It's the most amount of miles that I've run on the road. I ran 11 miles on a treadmill a few weeks ago. But when it comes to running on the road, 9 miles was the most that I've ran. in just over a year. The last time I ran that much, I did I went out one day and I ended up running like 14 miles. But this 9 miles the other day was the most that I've ran since then, and God, it felt good to just kind of shove that in the face of the doubters. There were people when I broke my ankle that said, you're never going to run again, or you're never going to run the same again, or you're never going to be able to run like you did before. And it felt good to really, to show those people without them even knowing that I was showing them, because there were several, and some of them I might not even be friends with, because after I broke my ankle, I'm in this Facebook group called Running Motivation, and it's not really running motivation. It's really just a lot of people that post pictures of themselves post-run or something like that. But I had asked questions in there, has anyone ever broke? I asked the question in there after I broke my ankle, within a few days of breaking my ankle. I asked in that group, has anyone ever broken their ankle, and how long did it take you to start running again? And someone was like, oh yeah, I broke my ankle and I was running again in 3 weeks. And I call bullshit on that. There's no fucking way that they actually broke their ankle. Maybe they had some sort of, minor fracture that didn't require surgery or something like that. I've heard of that before, where you might have some sort of, I don't know if you call it a break or fracture or what it is, but something that didn't require any surgery, that might make sense. 3 weeks later to be running again, that might make sense. I could believe that, but there ain't no one that fucking had actual surgery on their ankle and was running again in 3 weeks. Maybe if you're fucking David Goggins, you might be able to pull that off, but I don't know. But it definitely felt good to go out and get that run in, and I'm training to run further and further. I'm training more of heart rate training and distance training. Not quite for speed. I'm not really training for speed. It was nice. I've run a few times in the last 2 years. Multiple times, I should say. I've run multiple times in the last few years where I did 2 miles in 18 minutes or 17 minutes. And I felt really good about that, because the standard to pass the physical fitness test in the Army was to run 2 miles in 18 minutes and 36 seconds or something like that. So I was able to beat the standard for the military, assuming I was still in the military. That was what I was going for, right? I'd go out and I'd run 1.5 miles, and I'd do it in 11 minutes. And I would be psyched about that, because the standard to get into New Hampshire State Police was 11 minutes and 30 seconds. And I was beating that standard. I have no interest in getting back into the military. I have no interest in joining any police department. But to beat the standard that these people set, because these are the organizations that I look at and say, this is the elite. These are the people who have a standard and they have to meet it. And for me personally, I want to be able to beat that standard. That's training for time. That's training for speed. Right now I'm trying to train for more heart rate, keeping my heart rate right around 150, 160. I've had it up around 190, 195, which is not good, not recommended. Because your max heart rate should be 220 minus your current age. Right, so I'm 40 years old right now, so my max heart rate should be 180, and I've pushed it well above that a few times. But I'd like to try and keep it around 150, 160, and I'm training more for distance, longer distances. Right, I want to be able to go out and run, 10, 20 miles or something like that without stopping. So when I did 9 miles the other day, that was without stopping. I stepped out of the gym, I started running. And really, I really just had a plan in my head of the path that I was going to take. And I knew it was long. I knew it was going to be at least 7 miles, because I've run it before, but I added a couple streets to it. So I knew it'd be at least 7.5 miles. And as I came back to the gym, I was at 8.85 miles. So I ended up just running around the parking lot a little bit to get, that complete 9 miles. So, anyways, but the point was, I stepped out of the gym and I started running, and I never stopped. I was actually able to keep the pace that I was at. It was like a 9 minute and 50-second pace. I was able to keep that pace the entire way through. Every mile that went down, my phone would chirp at me what my pace was, and every mile that was going down was like 9 minutes and 50, 9:49, 9:51. It was always right in that area. So, all told, it took me like an hour and 28 minutes to do 9 miles. So I was sub 10-minute miles the whole time, which that made me feel good. I also, even though I'm not training for speed, I do want to try and stay like sub 10-minute miles. So anyways, that felt really good, especially coming off of that broken ankle last year when I couldn't run at all. I mean, I will never forget the moment this doctor came into the room with me after my first X-ray. And he comes in, and I thought, and I had told Ro quite a few times, that it was just a bad sprain. And I mean, when she woke me up that morning and said that she was taking me to the ER, I mean, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, but the look on her face was like, we're not arguing about this. This isn't a debate. You're not going to tell me no. We are going to the ER. And I knew better than to say anything, so I didn't. But I was still, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, like, this is just a bad sprain. It's a really bad sprain. Even though I couldn't put any fucking amount of weight on my foot. I couldn't put any amount of weight on my foot. So so we go to the ER, and she said, I have my X-ray done, and the doctor comes in, and he says, well, the good news is the foot is fine. And for a split second, I'm thinking to myself, see, it was just a bad sprain. And then he says, the bad news is you broke your ankle in 3 places. And my mouth dropped. Like, I didn't expect to hear that at all. And then he steps out of the office. He steps out of the room. He said he was going to go and find out, who could see me that day as far as orthopedic surgeons or something like that. He steps out of the room, and Ro comes over, and I'm like sitting on the edge of the table there, and she comes over and stands in front of me, and I lay my head against her chest, and she was like, it's okay, it's gonna be all right. And when I looked up at her, I had tears in my eyes, and honestly, the thought in my head was, I'm not gonna be able to run. I'm not gonna be, I've done so much work to get to this place of running, and I'm not going to be able to run. And that was one of my first thoughts. And then there were other thoughts like, my snowmobile season is shot. It's, I went out and it's over now. I'm going to lose all this. I'm going to lose a ton of time at work. I wasn't worried about our bills and stuff because I still get paid. I get sick time at work. And fortunately, it was February, so tax season was upon us. So I wasn't worried about the bills. I was able to manage all of that. So, all of that was fine. But yeah, I was heartbroken. And then to come back a year later and just go out and run those miles the other day just felt really good. But speaking of doctors, I had a physical the other day. Finally have a primary care physician. I had a physical a couple months ago. I don't even know if it was a physical because I didn't really have a physical a couple months ago. That was more of a first meeting with my new doctor a few months ago. This was an actual physical, but I go in and I get this. He's got like this. My doctor. He's got this kid working there who ultimately explains to me that he is, he's a licensed whatever. He's a licensed physician, I think, maybe. I don't remember what he said his credentials were, but he's basically just finished school and he's waiting to get his residency somewhere. So right now he's, interning wherever he can. So he happens to be at this doctor's office. Best way to describe this kid, and he looks like him and he sounds like him to a T. Now, I haven't watched That 70s Show very much. I've seen a few episodes, but But the best way for me to describe this kid that was this assistant is that he looked and sounded just like Fez from that show. I mean, to a T. Looked and sounded like him. I mean, maybe if you had if Fez had short hair, short hair, that would be, that's the best way to describe him. This kid, very interesting character. He, the whole time that he and I are in the office together, neither one of us are wearing a mask because the whole mask thing went out the window a long time ago. That went out the window a long time ago. Nobody does that anymore. Hardly anybody does that anymore. There's still a few stragglers. There's still a few diehards that are never going to let go. They're never going to stop wearing a mask, and hey, that's fine if that's what they want to do. But for most of the rest of us, everyone stopped wearing a mask a long time ago, including me and this guy. Neither one of us are wearing a mask in this room. And we're talking, and he's asking me what I do for work, and I tell him I'm a mailman. And he's like, okay, well, you're around people a lot. You're around people all the time. So, you just want to. Oh, he asked me about my vaccinations. He asked me if I had the flu vaccine. He was kind of sneaky about the whole COVID vaccine because what he says is, "Did you get the flu shot?" And I said no. And then he says, "Okay, so you probably don't get any shots." And I said, "No, I don't." He says, okay, well, just, if you don't have the flu shot, you don't have the COVID vaccine, you want to make sure that when you're around people talking to them, you want to make sure that you wear a mask so that you don't get any, so you don't catch anything, right? And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you and I are right here, right now, buddy. And you're not wearing a mask, and you're certainly not telling me to wear a mask, and how's this okay right now? I don't know you. We've never met before, but this is okay right now, but you're telling me that when I'm out, I should be wearing it. That shit doesn't even make any sense. Then we continue talking, and he asked me about my diet. What do I eat? And I told him, I try to eat pretty healthy. I stay pretty active. I go to the gym on nearly a daily basis. I get a lot of cardio, both at the gym and at work. So I'm pretty active, and I try to watch what I eat. I try to be very conscious of what calories I take in and sugar and all this stuff. And he goes, okay, you just want to make sure that you avoid. I couldn't believe this. Blew my mind. I mean, one of these makes sense because you hear about it. You hear the back and forth. Some people say it's good. Some people say it's bad. One of them. But to name everything that he did really fucking blew my mind. He goes, you want to make sure that, you watch out what you eat. Don't eat too much red meat, not too much chicken, not too much pork. I'm like, okay, you just named 3 of my main food groups. That's pretty much what I eat is chicken, pork, and steak. I mean, all week long we've had beef, chicken, and pork. That's what we eat in this house. What am I allowed to eat? A couple, maybe duck and fish and salads, and that's what you want me to eat? That's it? Come on, man. Then he asked me about how long me and my girlfriend have been together. I said we're coming up on 3 years now. And he goes, okay, you want to make sure that he must be fucking so new with the question. He must be just regurgitating everything that he learned out of a book to be saying the things that he did, because the next one really fucking blew my mind. He says, okay, you want to make sure that you guys are using contraceptives when you're having sex, because you don't know what kind of things that other people may have, and you don't want to be passing anything on from one person to another. So unless you're trying to have kids with each other, then you should be using contraceptives together. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Where the fuck did any of this come? I've never had a doctor's appointment like this in my life. And again, I am not good at mimicking accents, but imagine everything that I just said in the voice of Fez from that 70s show. It's way more hilarious if you imagine it in that voice. Because I could barely understand a word this guy was saying in the first place. It was very hard to. I'm not good at listening to accents either. So there's that. I had a couple other things. on my list of things to talk about tonight. I was talking with a friend the other day about their friend and some of their dating stuff, and how that person, how like the friend of my friend has too high standards, right? This guy that I work with, he's talking about his friend, and we're kind of joking about it. And I said, you gotta like. When someone has their standards set too high, you got to treat it like I do when I'm trying to find something to watch on Netflix, right? When I'm trying to watch something on TV, rather. I'm trying to watch something on TV, I will do it tonight. I will do it right when this show is over. I will go downstairs, I'll sit on the couch, I'll bring up Netflix. I'll scroll through Netflix trying to find something to watch, and then when I don't find something to watch, I'll go to Amazon. I'll scroll through there, do the same thing, then I'll go to HBO, then I'll go to Hulu. Then I will lower my standards and go back to Netflix and start over. Lower my standards, Netflix, Amazon, HBO, Hulu. Lower my standards just until I find the right thing. So when it comes to dating, for those of you out there who may or may not be looking for dating advice, that is my recommendation to you, is that you go for what you want. And when you don't get what you want, then you got to lower your standard, whatever that means. Whether if you say that your standard is that you like guys with beards or girls with big boobs, and you can't find someone that's going to match up with you on that, you're going to need to lower your standard. And maybe now you need to find a guy with a clean shaven face or a girl with a smaller chest. I don't know. Lower your standards if you can't find what you want. That's my recommendation. I'm not saying it's good advice. I had another friend at work, a different guy, who came up to me and he was saying, hey man, what kind of, first of all, any sort of advice and I said that, okay, let me finish this sentence. This guy comes up and says, hey man, you and Ro, you and your mate, you and your girlfriend, you guys seem to have a really great relationship. What kind of advice can you give me for me and, my wife, girlfriend, because sometimes we argue and whatever, and I was like, I think that before he could even finish his sentence, I was like, the 5 love languages, you got to read the 5 love languages, and you can thank me later for it. I said it's absolutely a great book. You have to read it. It's just such a good book. And I would recommend that to everyone. And they make several books. There's like the 5 love languages of children. There's the 5 love languages for single people. The one that I read was the 5 love languages, which is the first one, and it's about a relationship between you and your partner. Absolutely great book. I recommend it to everyone, no matter how good or bad your relationship is going. Absolutely couldn't recommend it more. So, but then I also told him, I was like, yeah, me and Ro get along great. We have a great relationship. I certainly like to think so anyways. I hope she thinks and feels the same way. We have a great relationship. We have we have a ton of fun together, but we also, we bicker and we have our little passionate discussions from time to time. And, we're just like every other couple. That's how relationships are supposed to work, is that it's not sunshine and roses 100% of the time. You're going to have to have sometimes that just aren't as good as others. And working through those hard times is what makes the great times so much better, is knowing that you survived all the other bullshit. And knowing what you want out of your relationship and what you're willing to accept out of your relationship is very important. There were certain things about me in the beginning that Ro just was not willing to accept. And if I wasn't willing to change those things, we wouldn't be together right now. And I would say, and I couldn't name anything off the top of my head, but there were probably some things about her. There were a few things. In fact, yeah, there's some things about her that I might not have said, like, you have to change this about yourself, but I would tell her, like, hey, it bothers me when you do this or when you say this. And she had to change her ways, some of her ways, for us to stay together, because we both really wanted it. So it's very important. Communication is very important. Not that I'm really, breaking down any new walls that nobody's ever heard of before. But those are some of my relationship dating advice. Here's something that I would not recommend. I had a friend once, this is going back years ago now, years ago. A friend of mine once texts me about a mutual friend of ours and says, "Hey, who's this guy posting on our friend? We'll call our friend, our mutual friend, Nikki. We'll call her Nikki. Who's this guy posting stuff on Nikki's wall, on her Facebook wall?" And I didn't know anything about it, so I go and I check out Nikki's Facebook wall, and there's this guy, and it's a picture of this guy, and it's like him and two friends on either side of him. They all look like in their, early mid 20s, no shirts on, ripped abs. They look like they're straight out of fucking South Beach, Miami or something like that. And this guy is posting things like, "Hey, beautiful," on Nikki's wall, on her Facebook wall. Like, "Hey, beautiful, when are we going to hang out? When are we going to go on a date? Hey, I miss talking to you." Like, "Hey, I had fun talking to you last night." Shit like that is being posted to the wall. And so I say to my friend, I was like, "This is very interesting." And then I said, "I think I know what's happening." Now, our friend Nikki had just gone through a breakup, and Nikki was still friends with the guy that she had just broken up with. And I think, if I remember correctly, I actually think the guy broke up with Nikki. And I said to my friend, "I think I know exactly what's happening here. Nikki has created a Facebook profile using this name, this fake name, with these generic pictures that she probably picked off of Facebook somewhere, in an effort, in a weird fucking narcissistic, psychopathic effort to make this ex jealous in some way, shape, or form." Don't think it worked, because they never got back together. Hopefully, I hope that the ex also picked up on the fact that this was probably a fake profile. But man, that is a fucking weird ass move. That is such a weird move. To do that in any way, to like create some sort of fake thing. I had an ex who when we broke up, sent me a screenshot of some guy saying we should go out for drinks sometime, and she says to me like, "Oh, this would be nice, but I'm just not ready yet." And this is 2 or 3 weeks after her and I have broken up, and I was like, "I don't fucking care. Why are you sending this to me? I don't care. I broke up with you. I don't want this." So that's one thing that I would definitely not recommend when it comes to any sort of dating thing. When it's over, it's over. Fucking walk away. Figure out the rest of your life. I allow 3 days. Anything, no matter what it is. You lose your job, you lose your girlfriend, you lose your boyfriend. Fucking anything. 3 days. 3 days. You're allowed to have a pity party for yourself. You're allowed to fucking cry about it for 3 days. But after 3 days, you figure it the fuck out. You fucking shut off the music. You shut off the computer and the TV. You shut everything off, and you come up with a fucking plan. Okay, that's what you do. 3 days. All right, you get 72 hours from the moment it happens, and then you figure out how the fuck you're gonna move on with the rest of your fucking life. 72 hours. That's it. That's all you get. Second to last thing to talk about tonight. Finally got my fucking passport. I don't remember if I talked about it on the show or not. But my mate has been after me for a couple of years to get my passport. She when we first started dating, it was one of the very first questions that she asked was whether or not I had my passport. And for a couple years, she kept saying like, "When are you gonna get it? When are you gonna get your passport?" And it would come up probably every 2 or 3 months, and every 2 or 3 months would be essentially the same excuse from me, like, I just don't have the money. It's too much money. It's like $180, $200, depending on how quick you want it. So, I just, it was always the same excuse. I don't have the money. I don't have the money. I don't have the money. Finally, in November, I applied for my passport. Had a little hiccup along the way in getting it, and then a little slowdown in the process. And then, I was hoping to have it by Christmas. So for Christmas, one of my gifts, I told Ro, a week or two before Christmas that I had applied for my passport. And one of my gifts for Christmas from her was a great little. It's a red. It's on my Instagram, Adulting Donnie, on Instagram. It's on there. It's a red passport book holder, I guess is the best way to describe it. You put your passport inside of this thing, and mine says Kingdom of Asgard on it, and then it basically has it's a red leather book, and then it has like a gold imprinting of Asgard. You can see Asgard on it. And then she has one for herself, a passport book that says Kingdom of Wakanda. And then it has the Black Panther in gold and emboldened on it. Does that sound right? Emboldened? I think that's a word. So I finally got my passport, and I'm super excited to go do anything with it. I don't really care where we go. I know that we've already talked about Canada. Mostly, I think that one is probably most likely to be first, just because it's so close. I mean, Canada's only 5 or 6 hours from where we are right now, so Canada's probably going to be first on the list. But there's also, we talked earlier today about Aruba, and then there's so many other places that we just want to go. We both want to go to Ireland. We both want to go to Egypt. I know that I'd like to go to Australia. We'd both like to go to Mexico. We both just want to travel the world together. So now that I finally got my passport. So definitely very excited about that. So, and that is a wrap. And you might be asking yourself, I thought you said you had 2 more things to talk about. I do. And the reason that I said that is a wrap is that this is goodbye for now. Just last episode, I said, wow, 4 years. This has been going on for 4 years, and then it was only a week or two ago. Me and Tom were doing our show, and right around 4 p.m, Ro had texted. Me and Ro were texting back and forth, and I said, I got to go home, and me and Tom are doing our show at 9:00 tonight. And she says, do you even like doing that show anymore? And it didn't take me long to reply, and my reply was, I don't think that I even want to do any podcasting anymore. I think that I'm over it all. And when this whole thing started, I didn't really have anyone to talk to. I was living a very lonely life. A very lonely life that was filled with a lot of alcohol. And I was filling my time with all that alcohol and reaching out for any communication that I could online. And it was, things have changed so much in that regard. I don't crave that attention like I used to. And I feel like I have a really good, healthy life right now of friends and work relationships, and my home relationship is really, really good. So, and strangely, it was weird. I had a really big listener base, in those first 2 years. And, I guess a lot of that could be contributed to the fact that, I was way more consistent then. I was putting out an episode every week, usually on Fridays or Saturday nights. I put it on an episode every week. And then in the last 2 years, I just haven't been as consistent because my home life is just good. It's so good that I don't want to break away. I like my time, whether it's a night like tonight where, Rose off right now playing softball, and, for the night, she's, she'll be home in a few hours, but she's off right now. And yeah, did I really want to do this? Not especially. And that's kind of part of the problem is, I don't get paid to do this. I did it because it was a way to offload some thoughts, and I don't really need that anymore like I used to. That's not something that I need. But I do very much appreciate the 4 years that I've been able to do it. Most people that start a podcast last 7 episodes. And this is episode 185 or something like that of this show. It would have been nice to go to 200, but I don't want that pressure anymore of, oh fuck, I gotta go put out an episode. I don't like that. I never liked that pressure of coming home and thinking like, oh, I should go do that thing tonight. And it's not as enjoyable as it once was for me. So I had a handful of thank yous that I wanted to knock out before I sign off. And this is not the last episode. This is pretty much just me saying, look, I'm done trying to be consistent with it. I'm done trying to put one out a week or even once a month. Like, I might check in every few months, maybe every, 3 or 4 months. I might be like, oh, there's a couple things that I've thought of recently that, I think that I want to go and just put out an episode. So the episodes will always live on in the in whatever podcasting app you use. They will live on forever there. But I have a handful of thank yous. I definitely, thank you to Tom Bruno. Originally met you through the You Suck Network. And then ultimately a year ago, you and I started a show, and we've had a lot of fun in the last year doing that show. I met you through the No Rules podcast group, and a thank you goes out to that group too. And Alex, also from the You Suck, from You Suck Network, and also from No Rules podcast group. All of my listeners, everyone who stuck through for the last 4 years, the people who started and then also never left. I know that there's a handful of you, and then there's also a handful that came on midway through. There's a handful that checked in just once in a while. All those people. Joe from the Bridge checked in on almost every episode. He was very consistent, checked in at least every few episodes. And I'm sure that I will still see you around town once in a while, Joe. So Victor from Crash and Taz Movie Seller, always super supportive. He was always listening in or talking back and forth with me. Jason Lampro from Mixed Media Forest Podcast. I know there's a whole bunch of people that I am missing there on that list of people. Jason motherfucking Almy from Shit Happens When You Party Naked. Probably my first or second podcasting friend. Really, Jess Rainville, I guess, would kind of be my first podcasting friend. But she was a friend before podcasting was a thing at all. So Jason Almy, really the first person that I met through podcasting, and we've done a few episodes together, and I called him last week to let him know. Ro and Tom were the first people to know that I'd be doing this tonight, that I would be ending the show, or at least putting a big pause on the show. Excuse me. They were the first ones to know, and then I called Jason a couple days later and talked to him, and he was like, well, what about cigar bar episodes? And I was like, dude, I am still always going to be down for cigar bar episodes. If you want to meet up for the cigar bar episode, then I am absolutely down for that 100% all the time. So, but a big thank you to Jason for always being so supportive. He checked in. He did not check in on the comments tonight, but he did check in on virtually every other episode besides this one. And I'm sure that tomorrow there will be some comments from him. But a big thank you to Jason Almy. And lastly, my mate, my beautiful, beautiful girlfriend, the love of my life, my shield maiden, my Ro. A big thank you to her. She has been so supportive right from the moment that we started dating. She listened to virtually every episode that we went through, that I did. She was on the show a bunch of times. She put up with a lot of my fucking nonsense, my silliness, my immaturity. She helped me grow. One of the first things that she did for me was she got me a big giant poster that was my logo to put behind me while I did the show. She bought me the green screen that I use all the time. she has just been so helpful throughout, not even just, relationship stuff, but with the podcast that she didn't have to be helpful with at all. She helped me make my business cards. When I put together a t-shirt, she told me to get her a t-shirt so she could wear that. So I just can't thank these people enough. And like I said, there's a bunch of people that I'm sure that I am missing. But thank you all very much for all of the support and the listening and the encouragement throughout the years, throughout the last 4 years. And like I said, it's not necessarily, goodbye forever. The podcast will just stay up forever. And maybe, maybe once or twice a year, I might be like, hey, this thing is going on and I want to jump on and do an episode. Or, maybe me and Ro have a couple drinks one night and we're like, let's do a fucking podcast. 'Cause that's entirely possible. So we'll see where it all goes. But for now, and keep an eye on the social media stuff, because I'm not going, there's other things that I want to pursue that I would rather spend my time on. And one of those things is a lot of photography and videography. A big time thing on videography, a big highlight on that. Like I want to do a lot more video stuff. And by more, I mean, I'm at 0 right now. So I want to do a lot more of that kind of stuff, both with my phone and with my drone. So, keep an eye on both on the social media stuff, Adulting with Donnie podcast on Facebook and Adulting Donnie on Instagram, because that's where I'll share that stuff. So that's kind of what the future looks like for now. Less podcast, more photography. So, there's some classes and stuff that I've looked at online to kind of help me along with that type of thing. So that is going to do it for me. I hope you all, it's Thursday night, so I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And thank you again for listening. And, the offer codes, as far as I know, will still stay there. So, adulting on strikeforceenergy.com, adulting on 4HMclothing.com. So use those offer codes if you so please. And that's going to do it for me. Have a great night, everyone. And thank you again. Goodbye.